Perseverance is not a long race. It is many short races, one after the other. And friends, that's the way that we look at our opportunities in the market every single day. We stick with it. And those of you who stick with it through the good and the bad, and you keep plugging ahead, you will get a nose for this. You will develop skills. You will understand more and more each and every time you practice trade, and that is what I beg you to do. Practice trade as often as possible. If you want to burn yourself out, quickly start using real money before you are ready, and you will quickly lose it. Might as well go to Vegas. It would probably be a more pleasant environment than sitting in your bedroom in your pajamas sweating it out. So again, practice trade. Use the daily market worksheets, weekly market worksheets, trade worksheets. They're all in your show notes absolutely for free. If you don't have the book, we've got an autographed copy waiting for you. We'll be happy to get it out to you. Had a great message yesterday. Great. I think I went on for about 45 minutes with all of our Patreon members that joined us for that monthly question and answer phone call. And I appreciate everyone being with us. It was really wonderful and just had a great time. I enjoy y'all's company. And of course, I appreciate all of you that listen. We love to hear from you. We love your questions. You can always email us cw@chartingwealth.com. If you live overseas and want a book, you need to email us. We'll send you an invoice. I've got a few invoices I need to send out to folks. I'll work to get those out this evening. And again, just appreciate you being with us. Let's jump into these charts and see just what's going on. We have confirmed weekly vertical crossover going down that occurred on the S&P 500 back on the 24th. We had a nice week of down movement that shortened Memorial Day week. And then what do we see happening this week? Well, we have a green spinning top, means indecision tending up. Look at where prices moved to. It's just below the weekly trend line. And in fact, if we connect, we can probably, well, that's actually connecting. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So we, and again, want to make sure you try to connect 3 candles well. And again, we're right there on the trend line. Our derivative oscillator, which was heading down quite strongly as the week started off, has flattened out, not completely flat, still heading down, but much, much flatter than it was. Derivative oscillator still gaining downward momentum as we go into this third week. We go from the weekly chart. What do we see? That 2-day, it was pushing through yesterday. On the first day, it has ended up. It is now pushed all the way through the 2-day and is slammed up right there on the weekly trend line. So those of you who jumped in, of course, said to be careful. Don't stay in a losing trade. It's right there at where you jumped in. So again, you want to, again, enough telltale signs have been going off. And as we, of course, push up to that weekly, that's where it gets even more dangerous if we see it push through there. So we've seen the derivative oscillator. We're still in a confirmed down move on that 2-day chart. There has been up movement, but again, not enough to flip that 2-day chart over yet. We see on the 4-hour chart 3 days of strong up movement: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And on that 4-hour chart, we can see pushing through the weekly trend line, and of course pushed through in the morning on Wednesday, pushed through the 2-day trend line. So derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum, price percent oscillator heading up. And again, looking to those bigger charts to see where they are, we do see significant weakening. And again, perhaps what we will see is a cross back over going down. Perhaps we've already reached the summer low. As a pretty quick one, about a week, but a 4.7% gains somewhere along that trajectory down, particularly on QQQ, which is what I did my practice trade on. And we go back to the weekly chart. And again, keep your eye on things. Of course, may have another opportunity. If we push solidly through that weekly trend line and the week ends up there, of course, that's something to pay close attention to. But again, until that weekly chart crosses over and the 2-day, we're still in a confirmed down move. So we're waiting for that 4-hour chart to potentially give us a trigger. Okay, let's go now from the S&P 500 to the NASDAQ 100, up 0.79% for the day. By the way, the S&P up 0.65%. And again, we look at the down movement in the Qs has been stronger the entire time. And again, we still have a red down candle in the Qs. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. Price percent oscillators only backed off a little bit on that weekly chart. We go from the weekly to the 2-day. What do we see there? Well, we see on the 2-day chart as it loads up very slowly. There we go. We see it pushing up and through the 2-day trend line. Price percent oscillator is about flat. Derivative oscillator losing downward momentum. So again, we'll see how this price movement continues on Friday and Monday, which will be the next 2-day candle to be drawn. And we'll see just what that does. Is it going to keep going up, or is it going to bounce off and perhaps head down? We also have a 50 period moving average line that we've seen price just barely push over. We'll see if that puts the brakes on any upward price movement and trajectory at all. Still well below the weekly trend line. So we still have the weekly and the 2-day in confirmed down moves. We go to the 4-hour. What do we see there? Again, we see 6. So that's 3 days worth of up movement after that drop on Monday. Of course, that crossover occurred on Wednesday morning, and again, pushed through at the end of the day, managed to have enough energy to push through that 2-day trend line. So again, we'll continue to watch, see what the Qs does. And again, we're getting closer to the point where we jumped in that afternoon on the Qs, somewhere around the 178.83, and the Qs is up to 177. Let's see, where did it end? 177.61. So, down to $1 gain there per share of the Qs. And again, that's just the Qs. We'll have to look at what PSQ is doing as far as the jumping in point there. Remember, we don't track the inverse. It just is too complicated to start switching charts. We'll just keep with the Qs, but we can see where we are and where the gains and losses amount to. So again, no reason for you, unless you really, really want to stay just totally trusting in that weekly chart, to have lost, some of those gains that you had already had in that down move. So again, we'll continue to watch, see what we see, and again, see if another opportunity to jump into a down move presents itself before those possibilities end. We leave the Qs and we go to bonds. What are bonds doing? Look at that. Bonds started moving up again, which is quite curious. With stocks moving up, bonds up about half of what stocks moved up, 0.32%. But again, that's quite beautiful. We see bonds continuing to move up. We see the candle body itself larger than the prior weekend. We see the wick topping out higher than that prior week. Derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. Price percent oscillator heading up. We go to the 2-day. What do we see there? Still heading up. A little bit less energy than it had previously on the price percent oscillator. Derivative oscillator lost some energy. What do we see on this latest candle? Well, of course, we see that it is a red, almost a hammer. So again, indecision tending down. It's not a solid red down candle, just a cautionary one. And you should be cautionary if you've stayed in TLT. That's something for you to again, be cautionary of, because we do see some pullback there, but again, not a crossover going down. But let's explore a little further. What do we see on that 4-hour chart? We'd had 2 days of down movement, four candles. We saw up movement in the morning, bit of a pullback in the afternoon, price touching the 2-day trend line, but staying above it. So again, we still see the price percent oscillator, particularly with that down move in the afternoon, or that pullback in the afternoon, the doji heading down, derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. So again, if you didn't get out before those 4 down candles popped, just continue to watch that and consider what you can learn from it. And if and when you wish to take a profit, remember the jumping in point was somewhere around the neighborhood of 126.65. You're still up, what, $4? So that's nice. And again, you can take profits anytime based upon whatever criteria you want, whether it's a percentage, whether it's comfort with the rise, however you might wish to take it. You may want to continue to rely on your 2-day and your weekly charts. So that's where we are on bonds. Now, what do we see happening as we go to gold? Gold up again today, 0.33%. And what do we see gold doing for us? Forming a nice green up candle. And where is gold topping off? Well, it reached a high during the day of 126.45. And again, not as high as the previous one that we've had, but again, popping up there. We may very well end the week with a weekly vertical crossover. And of course, now you start hearing in the news, which I don't encourage you to listen to, but you start hearing in it people talking about gold. Well, yes, gold and bonds, because they are moving up. And we may have a weekly vertical crossover. Might offer you an opportunity to consider jumping into a practice trade on Monday on gold. Derivative oscillator looks like it's going to be positive. Price percent oscillator looks like it's going to be positive. We'll call that. And of course, those of you who've signed up for our texting service, we will alert you. If you haven't and you live in the States, this is not an international possibility. Sorry. If you will text the words charting wealth, really one long word, no space between charting and wealth. But if you will text the word charting wealth to the number 33222 on your cell phone, so dial 33222 and then text the word charting wealth. So text to the number 33222 the word charting wealth. And we'll put you on that list, and we'll make sure that if there is a weekly vertical crossover that occurs, you know about it. Okay, let's talk about what gold is doing on the 2-day chart, reaching higher highs. Again, candle body and wick higher. Derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. That price percent oscillator is spiking up. Quite nice. We go to the 4-hour chart, and of course, somewhere it's really hitting about sort of the prior highs that it did back on Wednesday. We see it on Thursday sort of hitting those same highs again. That's why you see the price percent oscillator flattening out a little bit. And you see the derivative oscillator losing upward momentum. So again, that is quite a spike in gold prices. Pay attention to that. Let's watch it. And again, that's what's leading to this weekly vertical crossover. So let's pay attention, see what there is to see and learn as gold starts moving up. That's nice to see. Okay, that's where we are, folks, as we end the week. If you don't have a copy of our book, we've got a copy for you. Just go to the link in the show notes. It'll take you to our Square page, and you can purchase the book. If you live overseas, email us, cw@chartingwealth.com. We'll endeavor to get you out an invoice, and then we'll mail your book to you wherever you live in the world. If you want to be a Patreon supporter and get all the great stuff we have there. That includes our charting of Bitcoin, our, short chart training, our long chart training. That is the quarterly chart training. And don't forget, at the end of this month, we're going to have another special quarter ending. We're going to be looking at that quarterly chart and what there is to learn from it, from that really long chart. Only look at that 4 times a year. And the next quarter, the second quarter of the year, is coming up at the end of this month. Folks, we love to hear from you. We appreciate you being with us. Stay positive, persevere. Remember, it's short battles. And it's a lot of them. And you just keep engaging every single day. 10 to 15 minutes. We're here for you. Stay with us. We will get through this. God bless. All the best from the whole team here at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.